A couple years ago, I saw a composition that involved computer-generated effects and a bamboo flute. When the flute was played into a microphone, it would create all these interesting sounds. This song kind of took inspiration from that, and well, this is what it sounds like. Hello, and welcome to what I like to call space fractals. This piece is very interesting to me because, I kind of explained it already. I don't really consider this a piano solo. I almost like to think of it as a synthesizer solo. Even though we're using an acoustic piano, most of this piece is what I have patched together using modular synthesis. And honestly, the piano is just kind of like a bass. Like, it's not really doing that much. Let's kind of get into how the sound that is coming out of my computer is being made, because I feel like that's the bulk of what this composition is. To create all the sounds, I'm using a program called VCV Rack, a modular synth emulator. Dude, I wouldn't even call it an emulator. It's kind of like its own thing. It's a whole program. It's actually really cool. And how it works is audio is sent through these different boxes, which are called modules, and each module does a different thing to modify or edit the audio. And kind of by doing that, you're able to turn like what seems like a normal piano into... You can also even create your own sounds. For example, if you don't want to use a piano as your bass instrument, which you can use is just a simple sine wave or even like square waves and triangle waves. Do the same thing that I did to this piano, but kind of a little more of a from a fundamental standpoint, and create all the different kinds of sounds using the flexibility that modular synthesis gives you. Kind of looking into the stuff that I'm using today, most of it is, in fact all of it, is exclusively audio processing. None of it's really generating any sound. And I kind of have this piece split up into 3 different sections, and each of those different sections kind of create different parts of the texture. The first part of the effect chain is pretty simple, and it's basically the like space of the song, the reverb, and a little bit of delay. And it's the top chain in this picture that I'm showing right now. How this effect chain works is it first goes into this plugin that just kind of like distorts the sound a little bit, kind of for warmth. Or the next module that I have plugged in is actually pretty interesting. It's kind of like a tape delay in which the audio gets recorded onto the disc that's rotating, and then there's like a couple of read heads that will like play this audio back at a certain different interval, and you can actually see like the time delays from each of the playheads. So it's kind of like a tape delay, but instead of a disc, which is pretty cool. I mean, it's all virtual, so like they could have made it a star or something, like I don't know. That's creating a delay effect, obviously, but you don't really hear the delay coming out of it, because what I'm kind of instead using it for is pitch shifting. I have the speed of the disc being modulated up and down, not too fast, like just a couple of different speeds, and when you speed up a tape, the pitch will get higher, and when you slow down the tape, it'll get slower. And so I'm kind of using that tape property with this module to create all of these really crazy like pitch shifting sounds that are going on in the background. After that, the tape goes into a reverb plugin called Plateau, which is for VCV Rack, like basically gold standard reverb. And yeah, that's basically this part of the song. So the next part of the song is the granular synthesis part. To create these sounds that I'm using in this part, I'm using a module called Audible Instruments. I'm using Audible Instruments texture synthesizer, which is a granular module. How granular synthesis works is it takes chunks of the audio that it's coming into the module and cuts it up into like tiny pieces of audio, like by the milliseconds. And what it does is just kind of like plays it back. It will play it in reverse sometimes. It will replay like a little chunk of what's coming in like a million times, and it kind of has like this like spacey effect. It adds a lot of texture into whatever you're using granular synthesis for. I'm using the granular synthesis here just to kind of add a little bit more texture. I'm basically using the granular to enhance the reverb and tape chain. The next plugin, or the next effect chain, is the looping part. Yeah, I'm gonna just call it that. There's probably a better word for it, but I don't know what it is. This effect chain is kind of what really elevates the piece to something a little bit more interesting than just some space effect, I find. The module I'm using for this is a looping plugin, and so every second or two, it'll capture the audio it just recorded and play it back a couple of times. And then in the next couple of seconds it will basically do the exact same thing. And so it's kind of similar to a delay effect, but if it was being frozen and unfrozen like 1,000 times. This effect is also pitch shifting the audio that it's playing back, and it's also actually feedbacking into itself. And so what ends up happening is the audio that it's replaying is getting higher and higher every single time it does a repeat. So if you hold a chord, it will just kind of like slowly rise up and up and up. And so I feel like it makes these longer chords that I hold in the piece a little bit more interesting, and it just is a cool part of the song. Compositionally, this song can kind of go in a couple different ways. The most notable one is like the spooky, like eerie, like horror film type style. And originally I was kind of going for that vibe, but as I was writing it for Eternity, I decided to not go with that approach and find a little bit more of a lighter method of composition. The main reason why I went for a lighter approach for the song is I write too many scary songs. Maybe a light song would be a little bit more fitting. Along with that, I also found that the composition became a lot more balanced when I went for a lighter approach. The main reason why I feel like this happens is because when both parts of the song are spooky and disturbing, it kind of makes it more distracting and less enjoyable. It's just when you combine the unnatural effects with a very pretty and natural melody, they kind of combine to create this really interesting and colorful experience, and the scary aspect of it kind of goes away and it becomes more like ethereal, which is the vibe that I'm going for with my next album. Speaking of my album, it's releasing this Friday, and yeah, it's gonna be 11 tracks, and all of the songs are going to be similar to this. Well, most of the songs. It's like half ambient, half like techno-ish vibes. So yeah, if you like this type of music, give that album a listen. You'll really like it. Thank you all for the support. I'm very excited to have this album out, and with only like a week left, it's very exciting. It's like right there. If you like content like this, make sure to leave a like, and also subscribe because I will be posting a bit more. See you in the next one.